Hello, everyone, and welcome back to New Day with English Stories. My name is Jimmy, and today I want to tell you a simple story. It is about a stranger. I never learned his full name. I never saw him again, but one short conversation with him changed the way I looked at my life. And sometimes I think that is the strange thing about life. The people who change us the most are not always the people we expect. Sometimes they are strangers. Gentle whistle. Interesting. So, take a deep breath, relax, and listen to this story. It was a cold and rainy Monday morning. I remember that day very clearly. I was sitting alone at a small coffee shop near the train station. I had a cup of coffee in front of me, but I wasn't drinking it. I was just staring at it. I was tired. Not just physically tired. I was tired of my job, tired of my routine, tired of worrying about money. And most of all, I was tired of feeling that my life wasn't going anywhere. I was 32 years old, and I felt like I had failed. Every morning, I woke up at the same time. I went to work, I came home, I ate dinner, I watched videos on my phone, then I went to bed. The next morning, I did it all again, and again, and again. I had dreams when I was younger. I wanted to travel. I wanted to learn English. I wanted to start my own small business.
I wanted to write a book someday. But as the years passed, my dreams became smaller and smaller. I kept telling myself, maybe next year. I don't have enough money. I'm too busy. I'm not talented enough. I'll start when the time is right. But the time was never right. That Monday morning, I had just received another disappointing email from my boss. My project had been rejected. Again. I felt angry. I felt embarrassed. And I felt completely hopeless. I looked outside the window. People were walking quickly through the rain. Everyone seemed to know where they were going. Everyone except me. Then,
An old man walked into the coffee shop. He was probably in his late 60s. He was wearing a dark blue jacket and carrying a small black umbrella. He ordered a coffee and sat at the table next to mine. For a few minutes, neither of us said anything. Then he looked at my untouched coffee. That's a very expensive cup of cold coffee. I looked at him. I didn't understand. He laughed softly. I mean, you paid for it, but you're not enjoying it. Jimmy laughed slightly. For the first time that morning, I smiled. You're right, I said. He looked at me and asked, Bad morning? I nodded. Very bad. Bad job? Yes.
bad life? I looked at him. That question surprised me. After a few seconds, I said, maybe. He didn't give me advice immediately. He just looked out the window. Then he asked, Can I tell you a story? I nodded. He began. When I was your age, I worked in a factory. I hated my job. Every morning I woke up and complained. I told myself that my life would be better someday. One day, I met a man who was much older than me. He asked me a simple question. What question? I asked. Slow, serious. He asked, If you don't change anything, why do you expect your life to change? Long pause. I became quiet. Those words hit me harder than I expected. The old man continued. I didn't like his question. I wanted to blame my boss. I wanted to blame the economy. I wanted to blame my family. I wanted to blame everything. He smiled, but deep down, I knew he was right. So, what did you do? I asked. One small thing. One thing? Yes. He pointed to my phone. You see that phone? I nodded. Every night, I spent 2 or 3 hours watching television and using my phone. Yes, I know that feeling. So I decided to spend just 30 minutes learning something instead. What did you learn? English. English?
Yes. He paused. I wanted to travel, but I couldn't speak English. So I started with 30 minutes a day. He laughed. My English was terrible. But I didn't stop. He continued. After 6 months, I could understand simple conversations. After a year, I could speak with tourists. A few years later, I traveled to several countries. I looked at him with surprise. And all of that started with 30 minutes a day? He nodded. Yes. Then he said something I have never forgotten. People think they need to change their whole life in one day. They don't. They only need to change one small thing today. Wow. I looked down at my coffee. For some reason, I felt emotional. I thought about all the things I had been waiting for. The perfect job, more money, more confidence, more time, the perfect moment. Maybe I had been waiting for a moment that would never come. The old man looked at me and said, "Your life doesn't need to become perfect before you start living it." I didn't say anything. He continued, very gentle. Start before you feel ready. Those 4 words stayed in my mind. Start before you feel ready. We talked for another 20 minutes. He told me about his travels. He told me about his mistakes. He told me that he had lost friends, lost money, and made many wrong decisions. But I learned something, he said. What? Regret is heavier than failure. I asked him what he meant. He explained, if you try something and fail, at least you know you tried. But if you never try, you may spend the rest of your life wondering what could have happened. I knew he was right. After a while, the rain became lighter. The old man stood up. He put on his jacket and picked up his umbrella. Before leaving, he looked at me and said, "Don't forget your coffee." I won't. He walked toward the door. Then I suddenly asked, "What's your name?" He turned around and smiled. Daniel. Daniel what? He smiled again. Just Daniel. Then he walked out into the rain. That was the last time I ever saw him. That evening, I went home and did something I hadn't done in years. I wrote down my dreams. Not big dreams, not impossible dreams, just small ones. I wanted to improve my English. I wanted to exercise. I wanted to read more. And I wanted to start my own small online business. Then I made a simple rule. 30 minutes a day. That's it. I didn't promise myself that I would become a different person overnight. I didn't promise that my life would suddenly become perfect. I only promised to spend 30 minutes every day doing something that would make my future better. The first week was difficult. The second week was a little easier. After 1 month, I started seeing a difference. After 6 months, I couldn't believe how much had changed. My English improved. I became healthier. I became more confident. And eventually, I started my small business. It wasn't successful at first. Actually, it failed twice. But this time, I didn't give up. I remembered Daniel. Regret is heavier than failure. Years have passed since that rainy Monday morning. Sometimes I still wonder about Daniel. I wonder where he came from. I wonder how many people he had helped. I wonder if he remembered me. Probably not. To him, I was just another stranger in a coffee shop. But to me, he was much more than that. He was the person who reminded me that my life was still in my hands. And that is why I believe something important. You never know when a simple conversation can change someone's life. Maybe you can be that person for someone else. Maybe one kind sentence can give someone hope. Maybe a smile can make someone's difficult day a little easier. And maybe, just maybe, the next person who changes your life will be someone you have never met before. So, if you're listening to this story today and you feel stuck, if you feel tired, if you feel like you're too old, too busy, too poor, or not talented enough, remember what Daniel said. You don't have to change your whole life today. Change one small thing. Read one page. Learn 10 new words. Take a short walk. Call someone you love. Start the project you've been thinking about. Do something small. And then, do it again tomorrow. Because small steps can take you to places you never imagined. And sometimes, a new life doesn't begin with a big decision. Sometimes, it begins with one small conversation. With a stranger. Thank you for listening to New Day with English Stories. If you enjoyed this story, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. And remember, start before you feel ready. I'll see you in the next story. Goodbye, and have a beautiful day.